I'm back in a new Visual Studio Code instance, and we will create a new folder now. Maybe call it just branches, because we'll dive a lot into branches in this next lectures. Then we drag this folder into Visual Studio Code, we close the welcome screen, we go to View, Appearance, and open our good old panel. Let me maximize that, and let me quickly clear this, and maybe put this up a bit more. And now we will recreate that structure that we saw on the slide. There we had a master and a feature branch. Therefore, I want to recreate the structure now also in the folders here in the project. What do I mean by that? Well, let's first create a new folder called master. So this contains all changes made in the master branch. And inside this folder, I'll create a new text file, m1 for master1.txt. This should be our first commit in here. Therefore, we first have to initialize our Git repository with git init. Now we add these files, or this file and this folder, to our staging area, and now we create our first commit with the message m1. So this simply means m1 added here for further reference. So we got this. Now we'll create a second commit, which should be called m2.txt for master2.txt. This should be part of this folder. Let's also add this to our staging area, and let's create another commit, this time m2. Let me clear this once again for you. As a next step, we'll create a new branch, our feature branch. So let's say that's the latest state we have in our master branch here. So let's quickly use the switch command here maybe. So switch -c. You can also use the checkout command. You know this already. And this branch should be called feature here, like this. So we have that new branch. And in this new branch, we now create our first commit. Oh, not in here. So let's leave the folder, and now the feature folder. And in here, I want to create our first feature with f1.txt. Now we again add this change to our staging area and commit it, of course, in our feature branch. Here we call it f1. And we'll create another commit, again with a text file f2.txt, like this. And this should also be added and committed here in our feature branch, like this. Okay, so what do we have now? Well, let's quickly use git branch here to see it. We have two branches, a feature branch and our main master branch. In the feature branch, if we check our log, we have our two commits created in that feature branch, so f2 and f1. And we, of course, also have m1 and m2 as the two commits created in the master. We can also see that in the master, no change was applied since we created that feature branch. So we have exactly the environment that we discussed on the slide earlier. Now, with that feature being finished, I want to implement it into my master branch. You know how this works already, right? First, we have to switch to our master branch with git switch master here. Now we are back in the master branch. And now we can simply use the normal merge command, well, to merge these two branches. So we use git merge right here. And now simply refer to the branch we want to merge into our existing master branch, and that's the feature branch. If you do that, confirm it, you see one very interesting thing, or two things actually. You see that the merge was successful basically, but more importantly, you see this fast forward hint here. This hint was also displayed earlier in the last module. There I didn't dive into it, as I wanted to discuss this in more detail later here. But if you have the situation that we have, that you create a new branch based on an initial master branch, for example, and you just change this feature branch that we had here, and then you merge the data, then this fast forward merge occurs. And as I said on the slide, this fast forward merge has the advantage that no new commit was created. No new merge commit, to be more precise. What do I mean by that? Well, if we quickly clear this again and now log it, you see that we now have our head with the master and the feature branch, and we have our f2 and our f1 commit and our m1 and our m2 commit. So this means we don't have any commit saying something like feature and master branch combined or anything like this. We have a continuous flow of commits in here. The only thing that happened is basically that the head of the master branch was moved forward to our latest feature branch. So this is very important to keep in mind. With the fast forward merge, we don't create a new commit, we just move the pointer of the head to this latest commit in the feature branch, also for our master branch. Let's leave this and let's now undo this merge. How can we do this? Well, no merge commit was created, but we saw, maybe let me log it again, but you saw that we are 2 commits now into these commits created in the feature branch. So if we want to go back to our latest state in the master branch, we have to go back 2 commits here, right? Let's do this. And how can we do this? Well, with our good old git reset --hard command. And now the head should be moved back by what? Well, by 2 commits. Let's do this. If we now log the data in our master file, you see in the master, we are back with the head at M2, so at our second commit. And if we go to our feature branch now and log it, you see we still have our 2 commits here. Why did I do that? Well, because I want to show you a way to avoid these additional commits to be implemented into this merge commit. Because you saw that we had M1 and M2, and then the first feature commit and the second feature commit. So basically, both of these commits were part of the merged one. Wouldn't it actually be sufficient if we just have this F2 commit with the final state in our merge commit? I think it would in this case, and you can do this with a very simple command. We simply go back to our master commit here, to our master branch, sorry for that. And now we use a new command, basically a so-called flag for our merge command, git merge --squash. Squash will simply, well, kind of squash or put together all the commits we had in our feature branch into the latest commit, so to say. So only one commit is added to our master branch in the end. Therefore, if we now use git merge --squash feature, you can see that we still have a fast forward merge here. But if we now check our git log, you see, well, we don't have any commit, right? Now what's wrong here? Well, nothing is wrong. If you quickly scroll up a bit, you see that the head was not updated here because, as I said, with the squash command, with the squash flag, we will put together all the changes made in the feature branch into one single commit. And this commit is not our F2 commit here. It is in the end as it contains all the changes, but we have to create a separate commit which contains all these changes, so to say. Now, this means if we check our git status in here, you see that we have changes to be committed. So we are already in the staging area. So this worked with our squash command, but we now have to create a new commit. And this could be called git commit -m merged feature and master, for example, like this. And if we do this, and now quickly clear this again and log the data, you see we now have this merge commit, but important, this is now only the head of the master. Earlier, the head was the same for the feature and the master branch, because this new commit was now only created in our master branch. Let's again get rid of this latest commit as we don't need it. So we will reset the commits from time to time in this next lectures. I want to show you the different approaches that we have in here. So let's reset this with our hard mode here, and the head should go back not 2 but 1 this time, right? So now we again are back at the initial state before any kind of merging happened. So this is the fast forward merge now. As you saw, it works if you only change the feature branch, and if you do so, the head will just move for both the head and the feature branch to this latest commit. Or if you use the squash command, you can create one commit which combines all the changes made in the feature branch. Now, talking about new commits, we also have a non-fast forward merge option. That's the recursive merge. This is what we will tackle in the next lecture.